think a lot of folks expected Bama to win. I think there were questions as to whether they would win big or have a tougher time. But as it turns out, everything went well for the good guys.
We need Devontae Smith to predict more games.
Yeah.
He's only 1 point away.
Exactly. What did he say? 30, and it was 31.
31 points. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it was nice to see. There must have been. I lost track. There must have been 25 former Crimson Tiders on the sidelines and around the hotel. You, honest to goodness, could have fielded an NFL All-Star team from the guys who were on the sidelines. It really brought into focus. I think right now, as we sit and talk at this very moment, there are 61 players from Alabama who are either on NFL active rosters or practice squads. But there were so many of them on the sidelines at the stadium on Saturday.
And that makes a huge difference to the current players. They see it. They see the love
does, and it's a great,
when they come back.
Every time they showed it on TV, that's a great recruiting tool. And nothing that happens goes to waste in the Nick Saban world. He probably called all those kids after the game or the next day and say, hey, did you see this guy? Did you see this guy? Hey, did you catch that guy? They were all on the sidelines. How about this guy? I mean, everything is rolled back into recruiting, and that's why the Tide is one of the reasons why the Tide is so successful.
I tell you, I saw a picture, Eli, of all the players from including one of the coaches that's at Philadelphia. His name's escaping me right now. But it has all the players from Philadelphia and New England in the preseason game. That picture should go out. I mean, there were 10, 12 people.
Oh, it's
incredible.
You start thinking of Mack and Hightower and on and on and on. You're right. Not to mention all the guys in Philadelphia. It's part of what makes Alabama as good as they are. Those elements, those things, even this coming Sunday, when Tua lines up against Mac Jones, and that Kevin Harlan, who's doing the play-by-play for that one, that he's going to be talking things all about Alabama. It's just a magnificent recruiting tool. And I was thrilled to see that the state of Alabama is getting that game. Most of the country, 47 states are getting the Kansas City game. But Hawaii, Florida, the state of Alabama, and Massachusetts, they are getting the Patriots and the Dolphins. So we'll all get to see that game anywhere in the state of Alabama.
Trey Sanders was another storyline from Game 1, and what a fantastic story that was to see him actually score a touchdown after the last couple of years, Eli.
Yeah, we talked about that during the broadcast, all the stuff that he's been through, the injuries, the illnesses, the car accident in which he was a passenger and the car got T-boned. You just felt so good for him to have a wonderful day. It was, kind of like the kid at Florida State, the quarterback, McKenzie Milton. Seeing him come back. And I didn't have rooting interest in that game either way, but when you see an athlete come back after the longest of odds, even like Smith did in the NFL, seeing all these guys come back after the longest odds against them, it really makes you feel great. It really does.
Was there anything in that first game that surprised you at all, offensively?
Surprised me? No. I was pleased to see the time that the offense had to work. We talked about it, I believe, last week. We discussed would the offensive line, rebuilt as it is, be able to give Bryce and Mechie and Brian Robinson, all these guys, time enough to work. And, you never know. You have to replace, again, 3 guys off the Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line, the best offensive line in America last year. got to replace more than half of them. How is it going to go? You just don't know. And, I mean, my goodness, Steve, you and I could have stood back there and had plenty of time to work. I mean, and I've never seen you go to your left, but you know what I'm saying?
What,
I mean,
what was so cool to me, though, Eli?
What's that way?
Is they did a good job of picking up the blitz.
Yep.
But how Bryce Young was able to navigate through the pocket when his guys were covered to buy more time and make those.
The cool cucumber, he really
is unbelievable.
Yeah, he didn't get rattled. He didn't get hassled. He'd step out. He'd do this. He'd do that. I was most impressed. Of course, we had seen that in practice and in the scrimmages, but, in some of the scrimmages, he didn't have as much time to work as he would have liked. The other thing that I really loved, and we saw this in the A-Day game, and it obviously has carried over now, we saw the development of Cameron Latu at tight end. Here's a guy who's a former linebacker who looked good in the Golden Flake A-Day game back in April, and then all of a sudden he's got himself 2 touchdowns, and that was a wonderful, I don't want to say a surprise, but it was wonderful to see how Bill O'Brien used him, and he held on to the ball. So I don't know if that was a surprise per se, but that was great to see as well.
Well, it's like they've been hiding that. If you remember, there was a question asked about Latu, and Coach Saban almost changed the subject in one of the meetings. And then, his route on the first one was incredible. I mean, totally did. I mean, it looked like a fifth-year senior playing tight end.
Exactly. And then the second one
was just a turnaround.
There at the 10, broke a tackle, took it on in.
Heck of a run.
A great run. Of course, he has that typical tight end body, which didn't hurt any, certainly. But, here he is filling in or taking over from Miller Forrestall, who caught the occasional touchdown pass over the last couple of years. But I was really thrilled to see that, and it was just another element to the Alabama offense.
Well, another element is the kicking game, and we saw Will Reichard's length on display yet again, and what a weapon he really is to bring to add to that offense this year.
Oh, we mentioned that on the broadcast I don't know how many times on Saturday. When you can bring a guy in knowing that chances are he's going to convert. Last year, a 52-yarder against Georgia. This year, the 51-yarder against Miami. The guy's perfect on extra points. That is a spectacular luxury that we haven't necessarily had every year over the course of the last number. But last year, he didn't miss a single kick, and he's off to a great start again. And, of course, there was a new snapper, Neeland Hibbett, the young man from Florence. He did his job flawlessly. So, everybody worked well, and that, again, another element that was so nice to see.
They'll change the rule where we'll get 4 points for hitting the upright here now that we don't hit it anymore.
Yeah.
Eli, you go back, and I watch a lot of old games, you'd be shocked how many times we hit the upright. I mean, 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, I know. We hit more and more uprights. We almost had to patent the darn play. I mean, it was crazy, but things have gotten better.
They sure have.
They have. There's no secret to it. If you can find a world-class kicker, you ride him for all he's worth. And as Coach Saban has always said, if every drive ends in a kick,
it's good.
You're going to win the ball games.
Yep.
And indeed, whether it's a field goal or an extra point, if every drive ends with a kick, you're going to do all right. And the Tide has done all right.
Well, and we do all right every week as well, talking to Eli Gold, courtesy of our friends over at Fleming Roofing and Restoration. You'll hear Eli tomorrow night right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone with Hey Coach. Who is the media guest tomorrow, Eli?
The media guest tomorrow night is going to be Jordan Rogers from the SEC Network, and he is going to be doing the broadcast along with Tom Hart on Saturday. So he'll be in town. So he was kind enough to agree to join us. And I don't know if we'll talk any about his brother, Aaron Rodgers, but there's certainly plenty to talk about with Jordan about the SEC Network and Alabama and so on.
Eli, always look forward to our conversations. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Always great. Talk to you guys next week.
That is the voice of the Crimson Tide, Eli Gold, presented by Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are in a hold mode for Coach Nick Saban, who is scheduled to be at the podium in 90 seconds. Well, we shall see. We will talk some Arkansas, Texas coming up in hour number 2. David Bazzel will join us from the Natural State. We'll be back.
TOC Sports has been there for you. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what does that mean? It means for more than 20 years, Alabama's largest orthopedic group has been there providing coverage and care to more schools and student athletes in the Tennessee Valley than any other group. It means whether you are the star football player, the all-region volleyball ace, or someone who hurt their knee in a weekend pickup basketball game, TOC Sports physicians are proud to have the opportunity to care for all your orthopedic needs. It means for parents, coaches, athletes, desk jockeys, or even weekend warriors, TOC Sports physicians continue to meet and exceed the orthopedic and sports medicine needs of our community. But most importantly, during these challenging times, we're here for you now, and will continue to be here. So as long as there are players on the field, games to be played, and contests to be won, the orthopedic specialists from TOC Sports will be ready to help. We don't know what the future holds, but you can count on the TOC Sports team to stay committed to you, so you can stay in the game. Call 256-539-2728 today and ask to see a TOC Sports physician. Check them out online, also Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. For the first time in 2 years, Induction Day at the Baseball Hall of Fame today. The headliner, Yankees shortstop Derek Jeter.
Being able to play parts of 23 seasons with one organization, it's the only organization I ever wanted to play for. It's because of the boss and because of the family. And everyone mentions how difficult it is to play in New York, and especially for the Yankees. You know, the boss, he'd push you, he'd challenge you. At times, he'd publicly embarrass you. But you know what? He did it to bring out the best in you. He wanted to know if I had what it took to play for and ultimately lead the Yankees.
Jeter referring to late Yankees owner George Steinbrenner. Also inducted today, Larry Walker, Ted Simmons, and the late Marvin Miller, the former head of the Players Association. At the U.S. Open tonight, the last 2 quarterfinal matches, Karolina Pliskova against Maria Sakkari, followed by Novak Djokovic against Matteo Berrettini. Coverage now underway.
Okay, I think several years ago, it was the 6th or 7th game of the year. We just beat Texas A&M, and people started talking about our team, and I had to bring everyone's attention to what I referred to as rat poison. All right, so now we basically played one half of one game. All right, we went ahead 27-0 in the game. And then it was basically 17-16 after that with 2 stops inside the 5-yard line. And, so we didn't maintain our intensity in the game. So we were affected by the scoreboard. So we haven't proven that we can play for 60 minutes. Then we come out on Monday and really not ready to practice. I guess because of respect we have for the opponent. I don't really know all that, or maybe it's what they read on social media or in the media or whatever after one half of a game this season. And
welcome to the drive.
Then it was hot yesterday, so so we got every external factor in the world that is affecting our ability to maintain intensity and play the way we need to play and practice the way we need to practice to improve. We got the scoreboard affects us, who we're playing affects us, the heat affects us, the media and what you guys write every day affects us. So, to me, we got to prove that we can play and maintain intensity for 60 minutes in the game, execute, do our job, play hard, finish games, finish plays, do things the way we're supposed to do it. So, I'm really excited about being able to play at home this week. It's great to be back in Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's great to have fans back. I think it's great for our players. I think it's great for our fans. I'd like to congratulate all the guys on NFL rosters, having 70 guys on NFL rosters, not all of which are active, but 13 guys on NFL rosters from last year's team is, really significant accomplishment from a program standpoint, but also from an individual player standpoint. Guys creating value for themselves in their career here, learning what it takes to be successful on a consistent basis, and now having an opportunity to fulfill their dreams is something that makes us very proud and very happy. First and Gold awareness game this week, obviously something to create awareness for, children's cancer, curing cancer, and we're certainly happy to be involved with, that effort to help with kids. So, we got some guys banged up, but nothing different than Chris Allen in terms of who can play and who can't play.
We'll start with Mike Rodak.
There were 4 outside linebackers in last year's recruiting class between Will, Chris, Drew, and Hugh Robinson. Just what went into having that many linebackers and the outside linebackers in that class, and just overall, how important is depth at outside linebacker relative to how the game is played these days?
Well, based on how we play the game on defense, it's really important because that's where our pass rushers come from. That's where our athletic guys come from to play defensive end and nickel. Call it nickel J sometimes. So it's really, really important. And so some of those guys continue to develop. And then, we were happy to be able to recruit the guys we recruited, this year as well. And obviously when you lose a player the quality of Chris Allen, depth at the position becomes even more important.
Kelly of Tuscaloosa.
Hey, Nick, I'm just curious, in the first game, what did you like from the offense in the red zone, and where do you see room for improvement still?
Well, we kicked 3 field goals, so, we didn't score touchdowns 3 times that we had the ball, in an area where we should have been able to take advantage and try to score touchdowns. So it's something that we need to improve on, and we'll continue to work on that.
Michael?
You mentioned that you didn't like how the team came out in practice on Monday. How did you see the leadership within the locker room? How do you see them respond to that practice?
Well, we'll see. I want to see, do we have leadership? Do we get people to respond? Do people care enough to understand what we have to do to maintain our intensity for 60 minutes in the game, to improve as a team, to do the things that we need to do to improve as a team, to have the mindset that we need to have? We got some guys that are, they're doing the right things. And they're trying to set a good example, and they're trying to pull other guys along. But we also have other guys that, need to pick it up and understand what it takes to practice, what it takes to prepare. Some people have the idea that exertion through the course of the week some kind of way impairs your ability to play on Saturday. But really, you got to have exertion through the week to be ready to play on Saturday. And the key to that is, how do you take care of yourself? How do you recover? How do you sleep? How do you hydrate? How do you use the Sports Science Center and all the technology we have to help so that you're going to be good on Saturday? So I think, we got some guys that got it backwards. We're trying to get them fixed.
Go to Charlie Potter.
Hey, Coach, you've talked about being excited about having fans back at the stadium. Just also, given the enhancements you've made over there, how much are you looking forward to actually having recruits back on campus for games?
That'd be great. We weren't able to use the facilities that we created a year ago. They're very impressive facilities, and we're anxious to have people see them. Of course, a lot of guys have visited here over the summer, got to see them. But we'll certainly have more guys come to games. And I think we have, outstanding facilities, and we're always anxious to show as many people as possible the kind of commitment that we make to having a first-class organization and having a standard that's second to none, and what we're willing to invest to help them be successful.
Nick, I'm sorry, a little off topic. I wanted to ask you about Tua and Mac Jones facing this weekend. Obviously, it's a huge showcase game. Two Alabama quarterbacks facing each other, and for the first time in a long time. I just want to get your thoughts on those two guys, reaching that level, facing each other, and maybe just a memory or two of them together back in 2017.
Yeah, well, both guys are great guys. Both guys did a great job for us here. We're rooting for both guys. I hope, both of them play extremely well. They're very capable. Tua obviously, sort of had his, year last year to play and develop and learn and grow. And, Mac is certainly, in that situation now. And, I wish them both very well. I hope they both do extremely well in this game as well as in their career. But somebody's going to have to win and somebody's going to have to lose. But I think the quarterback probably gets too much credit when you win. They also get too much criticism when you lose. So it'll certainly be a team effort for both teams in terms of who has the most success in the game.
Gentry Estes.
Yeah, hey, Nick, another throwback question for you. Being up here in Nashville, I wanted to ask about Julio Jones. What do you most remember about Julio's recruitment out of Foley years ago? And looking back, how important was he toward the growth of Alabama's program during your early years there?
Well, I think, Julio was a part of the first full recruiting class that we had. He was one of the, highly talented guys at his position, probably one of the best players in the country at his position. Being from Alabama, it was probably one of the most important things that ever happened in the program, because when Julio, Mark Barron, and all these guys at first class, Hightower, there's a bunch of them, 6 or 7 first round draft picks, I think. They all came here when we weren't any good. We were just coming off of a 6-6 season or something like that. So they came here and they believed. They came here and they trusted in what we were trying to do to, create a program that, and they came here to prove something. And there's nobody that we've had that was a better leader or did more to sort of enhance the culture of toughness, giving effort, finishing plays, being a great competitor than Julio Jones did. I mean, he used to run down on kickoff and wouldn't come off kickoff team during the game. And he's one of the best receivers, in the country. So from a culture standpoint, from an impact standpoint, in the early years, there was a lot of guys that made a great impact, but Julio was one that probably the way as much as anyone.
We'll finish up with Melanie Collins, excuse me.
I'm sorry.
We're not hearing you, Melanie.
Sorry about that. Hi, Coach. I am the sideline reporter for Sunday's Dolphins-Patriots game, and I know you addressed it a little bit, but just wanted to know, do you plan to reach out to Mac and Tua this week? And if so, what will your message be to them?
Yeah, well, I usually am focused on what our team is doing. I think that, we text all 70 players in the NFL and let them know that our thoughts and prayers are with them and we wish them good luck. But we have so many players in the NFL, I don't really, reach out individually to guys and have a message for them. We do, send them a little good luck thing. But we're always watching. We're always hopeful that they do well. We love it when our guys come back. I don't know, we had probably 10, 12, 15, on the sidelines this last game in Atlanta that were all, guys that were successful in the program here and having successful NFL careers. So, we're always anxious to see how they do. I always read a report every week to see, how each player did. Sunday's a big work day for us, so we don't get to see the players, play that much. Certainly wish I could. But, we have a team here, and I think the players all respect the fact that they have a lot of pride in Alabama. I was in the NFL, and I know how much trash gets talked on Saturday night about whose team did what. So I know those guys want our team to do well, too, and I think they know that I'm pretty much committed to that.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Nick Saban Press Conferences on 97.7 ESPN The Zone is presented by McCurry Van and Car Rental. With 2 locations in Huntsville and Athens, McCurry Van and Car Rental can serve all of your driving needs. It's all at McCurry Van and Car Rental.
Good practice or bad practice?
Well, I think he has a message for him. He's the rat poison. He's not going to let it get to him. I think that was a twofold thing. One is he's not this team. He doesn't. He realizes what he has. He's changed modes. He's changed modes where don't believe that you're not as good as the people are telling you, and you got to get better every week. We got the Clemson / recruiting speech.
Yep.
And the rest was about recruiting.
How about the answer of, are you going to reach out to Tua and Mac? Well, we got 70 players in the NFL.
Yeah, we can't reach out to all
We
of
can't
them.
reach.
We text message them, and then they send them a gift bag. That gift bag they send them that just puts everybody else to shame.
Yeah.
And there'll be plenty of people pressing on that. So I get what he's coming from. I mean, they obviously didn't have a good practice on Monday. They're playing Mercer. Everybody's talking about how nobody's close to them, this or that. And it's rat poison because they're going to play plenty of teams that can beat them if they play bad. And Florida and Ole Miss are just right on the tip. Texas A&M's quarterback's going to get better every week. They have players. Auburn's they've beaten us down in Auburn, and you got to respect the way they looked the first game and the players they have, and it looks like they're better. And and everybody needs to be getting better. That third string guy might be the first string guy next week. So you just got to keep working.
Coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk a little Arkansas football as an old Southwest conference matchup, as right now Texas is a 7-point road favorite at Arkansas. I had a chance to talk to Coach Sam Pittman and talk to Coach Pittman a lot about what he mentioned yesterday in his press conference about the targeting rule. And the targeting rule is no doubt going to impact this Hog defense out of the gate.
I heard you earlier in the week talk about the targeting rule and possibly needing it to change, and without playing bump in the first half. I do wonder, at least first off, Coach, how much that affects what you do defensively against Texas.
I don't know if it will affect us a tremendous amount because, we certainly have Hayden Henry there, and they both were about neck and neck on playing time and depth chart and those things. It does help. It does hurt your depth, and certainly would hurt you more if he or Grant were injured in the first half. But and I feel terrible about the rule. I think I watched the Ole Miss game. I think they might have had 4 ejections in the first half, and I think it's certainly something that the Rules Committee is going to look at and probably need to, and we've got to do a better job of coaching how to stay away from it as well. But it sure seems like the crime and the punishment don't match a lot of times.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Coach. Just in terms of teaching your kids how to tackle the proper way, there's already so much limit on the amount of contact you can have. It feels, I mean, what is the correct answer in teaching up your kids on the proper techniques when you're already pretty limited on the amount of contact, Coach?
Well, we're trying to lower our target. Normally you're hitting a guy in the chest and trying to roll up from there, and now it's got to be lower than that. And we've worked on it this week in practice, and the bottom line, a runner, if he lowers his head and at the point of when I'm running in there to tackle, a lot of times that's going to, that some of those things are going to glance in there and hit. And so I know what the rule is intended to, and I'm all for the rule. No reason to go try to damage somebody or hurt somebody helmet to helmet. But this game of football, especially when you're inside, trying to make plays in the A and B gap, things are going to happen in there. So we're trying to lower our target, I guess, to answer your question.
That is Sam Pittman from earlier today.
And I just think it's ridiculous. I think that between the tackles, it shouldn't be targeting. I don't think it's any way, and especially when people are coming up making tackle with a guy that has a full head of steam. Man, I don't know. I mean, they're trying. You can tell when it's on purpose. You can, and it's easy to spot. So I just think they need to. I think they need to change the rule.
Well, we're going to talk a little more Arkansas football on the other side. Let's go ahead and take our first time out. David Bazzel set to join us next as we're live here at the End Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. You're listening to The Drive with Wes Neighbors and Steve Moulton on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Maybe the air doesn't blow like it should, or it's needing new tires, or you're just ready for something newer. It's time to move up, time to trade up. Bobby White back again for Woody Anderson Ford, and it's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your current car or truck is worth more than you know. In fact, we'll buy your vehicle even if you don't trade. We have nearly 100 Ford Blue Advantage certified pre-owned models to choose from. Our Ford Gold certified or low mileage gently used vehicles with great warranties. They've passed a 172-point inspection by certified technicians, come with a 24-hour roadside assistance, plus a full tank of gas and a fresh oil change. It's the perfect time to trade in and trade up because your vehicle is worth more right now at Woody Anderson Ford. Corner of Jordan Lane and Sparkman Drive. Hope to see you soon.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4-RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Ann Adams. And I understand you have some exciting news.
Yes, Wes, I do. Berkshire Hathaway Home Services was just recognized in the 30th Annual Harris Poll Equitrin as the Real Estate Agency Brand of the Year and the most trusted real estate brand.
That is awesome news, Ann. You know, great companies in Huntsville, Alabama, winning awards is what we want. Is it a great time to list your home?
Yes, it is. The inventory is low and the market is heating up.
And I understand you're also looking for agents.
I am. We are so busy, Wes, we need agents to keep up with the demand.
Ann Adams and Rise Real Estate has been doing business in North Alabama for the last 35 years. If you want to do business with someone you can trust, she has been writing contracts since she was 9 years old. Call Ann today at 256-337-2625.
Hi, everybody. Eli Gold here. Right now, indoor air quality occupies top-of-mind awareness for families and business owners. Rick Smith and the trusted professionals at Environmental Comfort Systems can take care of your indoor air quality concerns with their state-of-the-art indoor air quality solutions. Environmental Comfort's indoor air quality systems remove 99.9% of airborne contaminants so you and your family can breathe clean, fresh air. If anyone in your family suffers from allergies, or if you just want the security of no knowing the air you breathe inside your home is free from viruses, bacteria, pet dander, dust, and odors, Environmental Comfort Systems are the professionals to call. Environmental Comfort also carries state-of-the-art, high-efficiency comfort systems that increase home comfort, keep humidity in check, and help you save money on your energy bills. Give my friend Rick a call or visit them online at envcomfort.com and breathe cleaner air today. Environmental Comfort Systems, Alabama license number 92314.
Mark and Henry McDaniel, attorneys at law, are proud alumni of Madison Academy, and Madison Academy is proud of them. They have served our community through their practice, through volunteerism and service on national, state, and local boards. They explain the complexity of critical court rulings on local media. Their successful practice has been built on integrity. Both are veterans of MA Athletics and proud sponsors of Mustang football. McDaniel and McDaniel, attorneys at law. No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by the lawyer.
Back here with you on the drive. We're live here at the End Zone. I hopped on the SEC teleconference earlier today, played my conversation with Arkansas head football coach Sam Pittman about the targeting rule. We'll certainly talk about that with our next guest, who is kind enough to join us. It's always fun to talk some Arkansas football with David Bazzel. You can follow him on Twitter at David Bazzel. How are you, sir?
Steve, other than having a big ice pack on my head because of a positive COVID test a few days ago, I'm doing great. But I was able to get up and do my show the last two mornings at 6, and hopefully by this weekend I'll be better. But, you know, I have a 97-game consecutive streak of attending home and away games covering the Razorbacks for my station, 103.7 The Buzz, and our ABC affiliate. And I'll be darned if it's coming to an end of all the weeks, Arkansas, Texas. I'm not a happy camper.
No, I know this has been circled for quite a number of days, to say the least. The way this season even started, I was wondering if Arkansas was trying to form their own Southwest Conference, going Rice and Texas out of the gate.
Well, you add in one more, Steve. We always play A&M, so it's just like back when I played back in Wes's day, back in those early '80s. That's who we played. And Razorbacks sort of stumbled in the first half against Rice and played better in the second. And obviously, you got a good Texas team that looked impressive against Louisiana coming here. It's the first sellout, guys. The first sellout at Razorback Stadium in Fayetteville since 2017. As a matter of fact, we had Bumper Poole on our show today, and he said it's the first time he's played at Arkansas in front of a sellout crowd, which is a shame. But that shows you how low the program has been the last few years.
And how did it get there? I mean, this is, it seemed like Arkansas was always on the verge of really winning the conference and being, one of the main schools. Like the history of Arkansas is so great. You look and then all of a sudden, since Texas A&M came in, it hasn't been the same. What happened?
Wes, most Razorback fans will point to one. I think it was on April Fool's Day when a motorcycle wreck happened, and by Bobby Petrino, and that was the end of things for since that time. You're right. Back when Bobby Petrino was there, we'd beaten A&M I think 5 years in a row. Brett Bielema comes in after a bad year under John L. Smith, and you think he's got this turned in the right direction, and then about the fourth year he starts losing assistants like Sam Pittman, and it sort of falls apart. He has big leads that he blows there at the end, and it just falls apart. Then you bring in Chad Morris, was a complete disaster. You only win 2 games. You have in both of his years, you have 8 different starting quarterbacks, and so I think the Razorback fans feel at least they've got some stability with Sam Pittman. Last year, he obviously won 3 conference games, and we're in the hunt for a few others, and they're just hoping that he can build on what he did last year.
Well, and they look like a football team. They didn't look inept.
Yeah, that's right.
When you go to Chad Morris, when you basically cut a quarterback and he comes back and beats you.
Yeah.
That's a bad look.
That's right. Oh, listen, there's nothing worse. That was the worst optic on the planet to have to get rid of a quarterback you don't want. He comes back and he hangs 30 on you in the first half. And so again, I think that the fans feel like Sam Pittman's got to go in the right direction. Again, you got the toughest schedule in America. Not going to be easy. They don't have enough horses to be able to compete at the level that Petrino was there before he had his accident. But at least, like you said, Wes, they're playing with pride. They're playing with effort, and they're not quitting. And you saw that under Chad Morris's season.
And the fans sense it.
Yeah, there's no question about that. No question.
Yeah, we're talking with David Bazzel right now on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline, and there's been some talk of Treylon Burks back for this weekend. What can you tell us, David?
Well, the problem was, he played against Rice, and I'm not so sure he should have played. But, what happened was he'd been in a boot for 3 weeks. And so what Sam Pittman, he asked the trainer, is he healthy? And the trainer said yes. So if there was no way he was going to injure himself, Sam thought that was okay. Well, Wes, you've had 3 weeks in a boot. He had practiced an hour Wednesday and like 20 minutes Thursday. He was out of shape, out of timing, and it looked like it against Rice. He had 2 drop balls, a fumble. So maybe hoping another week of practice and running around gets him back to where he needs to be, because the passing game was anemic against Rice, guys. They were 4 completions for 21 yards in the first half. Everybody was looking around going, oh, my goodness. So he's got to be able to be healthy. He's got to be able to get open for this Arkansas offense to be effective.
So when you look at, if you had time to study Texas, and I'm surprised they're a 7-point favorite going in, because even though they handled Louisiana Lafayette, I watched a little bit of that game. They just broke a lot of tackles. If Arkansas can tackle, then I think Arkansas can easily win this game.
They definitely have a shot, Wes. You look at that line. Vegas is usually pretty correct most of the time, not all the time. And you think about it, Texas is ranked 15. Arkansas is not even ranked. They were down 17-7 to Rice in the third quarter. How in the heck is that line so close? But I think you're right. I think they feel like Arkansas is a good enough team. They'll play better. It's a night game at Fayetteville, sold out. Everybody's back. They didn't have one of their new nose guards against Rice. They'll have him back. I do think, as you say, I think it'll be a competitive game. I think Arkansas has its chances. Texas has got a great running back in Robinson. He can catch it out of the backfield. He can run it. Hudson Card, their quarterback, looked good. But Arkansas has a chance to beat these guys. They definitely do.
So the other big storyline is the targeting rule. And I had a chance to talk to Coach Pittman earlier today on that very targeting rule. There's no doubt that something does need to be changed just from the penalty per se. But it does feel like the defense is potentially starting this game with one hand tied behind their back.
Yeah, Steve, it's the most boneheaded thing. We're in like year 7 of this rule. And I don't know, I don't think I told you guys, but we have 3 NIL deals with Razorback players that they show up on our show each week. And they are Grant Morgan, who was ejected on the 6th play of the game against Rice, Bumper Poole, who was ejected in the 4th quarter against Rice, and the other is Jalen Catalon. So we were just praying that Jalen Catalon was not ejected in the Rice game. Of course, you saw the Ole Miss Louisville game, and I get the intent of the rule. But my point is, do we eject a kid for doing a horse collar? Very dangerous penalty. Do you eject a kid who twists a helmet around on a guy's neck that could break his neck that way? No. So why don't you just do a first one is a warning and a 15-yard penalty. The second is an ejection. That's the problem. Grant Morgan said today, he said, man, I trained 2 weeks for Rice, and I made a mistake. So does the mistake have to be a full, a whole game for me? And then if you think about it, guys, against Rice, we were playing with one less linebacker because of an ejection. Against Alabama last year, we didn't have a bowl game, and so Hayden Henry had to sit out in the first half against Rice. And, of course, Grant was out, and now Bumper Poole will be out the first half against Texas. I just think it's overreach. We'll be talking about this 10 years from now. It's not, they've done a good job of getting everybody's attention, but now it's gotten out of hand because we're still going to be doing the same penalty 10 years from now. It's just part of the game. It's part of how you play football, and don't eject on the first time.
Yeah, and I don't know how you're supposed to, like in an Ole Miss game, the guy comes, he ducks his helmet, not as bad as the offensive guy. He ducks his head just a little bit, which is natural, by the way. before you're about to hit somebody. It's almost and it's in between the tackles. I don't think there should be any targeting for a runner in between the tackles. You don't have good vision. You're just trying to get to the hole. You can't even see it till you get there. It's a joke.
Yeah, I heard you mention that earlier. It is a snap decision, and again, that's why I'm saying I get the intent, but at this point, this is not going to change. Listen, back in our day, they taught head up, hit with the top of your face mask, and that's what you do. But you know what? There's just situations because it's football. That's why you have penalties. That's why there are all these other penalties, and there are other, like I said, horse collar, and there are also face masks. And so I just think now we've learned enough. Now look at the NFL; they don't eject. Now they fine, but I just think it's too much of a penalty for what these guys are doing, trying to adapt in a short amount of time.
The way the NIL is, we might start fining instead of ejecting.
Good point. Yeah, good point there, Wes. You're right.
There's also been a decent amount of conversation in the preseason about Malik Hornsby. It's somebody the Auburn fans saw last year, but so do you think at all we're going to see Malik play even this weekend maybe?
I was really surprised, Steve, that as bad as the offense looked with KJ in the first half, and then they go into the third quarter and they're down 17-7, Kendall Briles and Sam Pittman stuck with KJ Jefferson. So that sent a strong message that they were not going to put Hornsby in there. Now, I've seen Hornsby, at practice. The dude is a deer. I mean, he is the biggest threat running the ball. But obviously they don't have enough confidence in him yet to be able to run the offense because I think his running skills would be a bigger threat. Now, I will say this. KJ Jefferson did have 89 yards rushing and looked impressive running the ball. And even Sam Pittman said, I think he passes better when he's running better. And so Kendall Briles has got to get into a better flow. It was sort of a clunky first half calling. Arkansas's got to get up there and get more than 3 or 4 yards, let their running game sort of establish things. But it looks like Hornsby is going to be riding the pine until it gets really bad, and KJ Jefferson is their guy.
So the fans you mentioned are coming out in droves for a big game this weekend. So optimism. Give me the pulse there in Arkansas. Is there a lot of belief in a win this weekend?
Yeah, there is. Again, Sam Pittman is, if you look at last year's games, of course, at the end, they didn't play well. They got blown up by Alabama and just blew a horrible lead with Missouri. But I think Sam Pittman, gives this fan base confidence that we're going to compete. I think Vegas is looking at that too. So I think there's optimism. And even Hunter Yurchik, the AD, since he's been here, he's never been to a sold-out game. So it's standing room only. ESPN, SEC Nation's going to be there. Marty McGee's going to be there. And so it's the biggest game we've had, since, I was trying to think maybe going back to Petrino, although we're not ranked. If Arkansas could somehow get this win and be 2-0, you got Georgia Southern next week, you'd be 3-0 most likely, then going to College Station where we've lost, 9 years in a row. It would be a huge boost to the program. Now, again, it's going to be tough. I have a lot of respect for Sark. He won the Broyles Award, which I do every year. Won last year. He's an excellent coach, and Texas has great players. But I'm going to tell you, here in Arkansas, we love to hate Texas. Love to hate Texas. So,
I think that's not I guess an angle that's held by many people, right? That is held by many people. I don't know anybody likes Texas.
No, I think you're right. Well, they're a blue blood like Alabama, West. They are. But there is, back when I played in the Southwest Conference, and Arkansas was the only school not from Texas. It was the weirdest thing ever. But Texas thought they were better than everybody else. They sort of like Dallas. They got the cool uniforms, and they got the fight song, and 1,000 members in their band. They got all the money and Bevo and all that. And so
they hadn't won anything in a long, long time.
Well, that is true. As a matter of fact, against Arkansas is 5-5 the last 10 meetings, and Arkansas has won 4 out of the last 6. So you're right. This is not the Texas team from the 70s and 60s for sure.
So you mentioned this is the first game you're missing in 97 games. I'm trying to do this math quickly. Are we going back to Houston Nutt, or are we going to Bobby Petrino?
No. So what I decided to do, I said I'm going to cover every game home and away for 103.7 The Buzz and KTV, the ABC affiliate. I started Bielema's first year, so I got 5 years of Bielema.
Okay.
And I got 2 years of Chad Morris, and I got last year, so this is the second year of Sam Pittman, so this is year number 9. Of all the, again, this was such a big week when I played Texas, Arkansas. I just hate I'm going to miss it. So it is what it is. I'm just thankful I'm vaccinated and it hadn't been too bad, and hopefully I'll be back. I'll be back in action here in a couple days.
So John L. Smith, that was like, you know what? As soon as he's gone, I'm in. So
that was bad. That was bad. That was a bad year. Listen, Arkansas fans have been through some bad times, boys. You already mentioned Chad Morris. You throw in John L. Smith. It's just been misery for quite a while.
Well,
what's the truth about the motorcycle?
Listen, there's conspiracy theories out there, and of course I do the Little Rock Touchdown Club, and we had Bobby come in 2 years ago, and he stood up and apologized. He really classy. He said, "I'm sorry. It was all on me." And Arkansas fans, wanted to forgive him, and I think if it had been just just the situation with him and the other person, he might have been able to work through it. But because it was an employee that he had hired, that was there was no room, no wiggle room. But I think a lot of Arkansas fans appreciated what he did because he proved that Arkansas, just like Houston Nutt, could compete at the highest level, could be a top 10 team.
No question. Is it illegal to hire ballast for your motorcycle?
What did you say, Wes?
Is it illegal to hire ballast for your motorcycle?
Listen, I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
See,
listen,
I heard it wasn't a motorcycle wreck, but that was the worst press conference I've ever watched. I was hurting watching that.
It was bad.
It was bad.
I have to be careful what I say about motorcycles. If you say anything with a motorcycle in Arkansas, you got to be careful. So.
David, I sincerely hope you get better quickly, and it's fun to always get you on. And thank you so much for hopping on. And we are certainly rooting hard for Arkansas on Saturday here in Alabama.